My very first professional gig started with a song that had this chorus. Is he one? I'd never have guessed. Well, you never can tell today. To see one, they're like all the rest of us. Well, live and let live, that's what I say. To be one might be kind of fun, so I'll tell you what I'll do. If you will still be my sweet baby, I'll tell you I'm one too. Well, I'd like to tell you how I came to write that chorus. Is he one? I was born in Bristol in 1949. I'd never have guessed. In 1960, I was sent to a brand new coeducational state grammar school. Well, you never can tell today. In 1963, we had Freudian sex education at school, which told us that normal human beings went through 5 stages of development. And apart from normal human beings, there were people called homosexuals, nymphomaniacs, and prostitutes. The first group were all male, and the second and third groups were all female. To see one. In 1967, homosexual acts between 2 men over the age of 21 in private were decriminalized. This was discussed in the public media for at least 4 years, very loudly up to that point. Should they be legalized? And to be homosexual was obviously something to be deeply pitied and to be kept very, very private. They're like all the rest of us. In 1969, after a minor suicide attempt, the words, "I'm homosexual," came out of these lips for the very first time, followed by massive tears at an outpatient's apartment at a mental health institution just outside St Andrews. A week later, the university psychiatrist told me that the best thing would be to get married and think about it later, adding the comforting words, "Never forget, Oscar Wilde was a happily married man with 2 kids, you know." Well, live and let live, that's what I say. In 1974, having moved to London and got a job, I decided that if it was a phase, I might as well enjoy it while it was going on. And despite the fact that I'd had no sexual experience whatsoever, I told all my friends, none of whom were surprised, and all of whom were very supportive. To be one might be kind of fun. Also in 1974, a university friend who was going through Edinburgh told another friend who was doing his PhD in Edinburgh that, and I quote, "Bunyan has done practically everything Bartet can add in the Times to tell people he's queer." The handsome PhD student who'd fancied me all the way through our 4 years at St Andrews was on almost the next train down, and we've been together ever since. So I'll tell you what I'll do. In 1974, I joined the Icebreakers Collective, which was a group that had come out of the Gay Liberation Front's counter-psychiatry group, and which ran a self-help telephone line across the UK for queer people to talk to. And over the next 2 years, I talked to an awful lot of people and began to realize that I could tell them with some certainty that they were not alone. For Icebreaker's birthday party in 1976, 4th birthday party, I wrote a song. It's called the Icebreaker Song. You can see it on my YouTube channel, Mark Bunyan 1. And I realized that people weren't writing out gay cabaret songs, with the exception of a man called Tom Robinson, who I heard about a week after I'd written my song. Although gay fringe theatre at this point was about to completely burst out. If You Will Still Be My Sweet Baby. And in 1977, I wrote the song. And after singing it a few benefits for the Gay News Fighting Fund, I was asked to do an audition for Country Cousin, which was a cabaret place at the end of the King's Road. It was a pretty prestigious place. Barbara Cook, for instance, made her London debut at Country Cousin. I did my audition slot on a Sunday, and I was invited back for a paid gig 2 weeks later. And it was me at lunchtime, Peter Allen in the evening. I don't remember Peter Allen. He's most famous for a song called I Married Liza Minnelli. I started with this song, and at that time most gay people were still very afraid of rocking the boat, and people asked me why I had to ram it down people's throats. But I do believe, and I'm open to correction, that this was the first time that anybody had ever really sung a song quite like this in a commercial venue, especially with the last three words of this chorus. Anyway, I'm going to sing it now, and in case you're worried that the song's going to be terribly heavy, it isn't. High above the city, from scaffolding of steel, two strapping scaffolders are chucking orange peel. Both have a gander at page 3 of the Sun and reassure each other with, "I'd like to give her one." Then one tells the other the news he's heard that day. They say the foreman's girder swings the other way. Is he one? I'd never have guessed. Well, you never can tell today. To see one, they're like all the rest of us, we'll live and let live, that's what I say. To be one might be kind of fun, so I'll tell you what I'll do. If you will still be my sweet baby, I'll tell you I'm one too. On the back of the gigs at Country Cousin, I was invited to perform at the first London Gay Theatre Festival at the Oval House in 1979, and lots of times at the Gay's Word bookshop, where my audience for the first time included a lot of straight people. And the song was also heard in my hour-long 1980 post-Pride March entertainment at the London University Union. I always made sure that I kept the song gender mixed. Miss Moira Grant's a midwife, as nice as you could get, yet strangely she has never found a mid-husband as yet. She's happy when delivering those bundles full of joy, but says, "I'm never quite so keen if it's a baby boy." For those that like that kind of thing, that is the thing they like. But with a girl I shout, "Congratulations, it's a dyke." Is she one? I'd never have guessed. Well, you never can tell today. It was heard in a 3-week sold-out run at the Edinburgh Fringe in 1980, and a year later, when the Gay Pride March was moved to Huddersfield because they'd been having an enormous number of police raids on the local clubs up there, it was part of the hour-long show that I did immediately following the march, which was one of the most difficult and unpleasant, I think, in the history of Gay Pride marches. It was actually at that gig that I sang this verse, which seemed utterly impossible. Midnight in the Commons, whilst most backbenchers kip, the member for, you guessed it, has a session with the whip. Later, in the clubroom, she has a little grouse about the latest scandal, which may well divide the house. The MP4, well, you know, does things I shouldn't say. I've heard his private member's bill quite exceeds his pay. Is he one? I'd never have guessed. Well, you never can tell today. In 1984, the courageous Chris, now Lord Smith, came out as the first sitting gay MP. In 1985, the song was heard from the stage of the Piccadilly Theatre in an absolutely packed-out benefit for gay switchboard called the Pretty Policeman's Ball, which was full of gay performers, though very few of them actually said so from the stage that night. In 1994, it was heard in An Evening Out, billed as BBC Radio's first ever gay radio programme. Somebody hadn't been listening to Round the Horn as carefully as they should have done. But by then, there were many, many other out gay performers, and an awful lot of people had heard my song. People continued to come out in all walks of life. Well, of course, I think I wrote this verse in 1986. The football season's with us, they're playing for the cup, and hugging fellows on the field is on the up and up. But later, in the showers, the striker's looking black. I'm starting to have doubts, he says, about that new fullback. I thought I was mistaken, but now I realise that as he hugged me for the goal, he said I had lovely thighs. Is he one? I'd never have guessed. Well, I'm going to sing one more chorus. You've got the words in front of you on Do Not Touch, on pain of death, number 3. Please do sing along. If you don't want to sing for yourself, sing for somebody in Uganda, sing for somebody in Russia, sing for somebody in Saudi Arabia. Also, in an awful lot of ex-British Commonwealth countries. I was doing this piece a while back, and a man called Jason Jones called out, Trinidad and Tobago. Apparently Trinidad and Tobago still has the same amendment to the Labouchere Amendment, which was passed to our House of Commons in 1885, and it's poisoning the well of people's lives around the world. So, and even if you don't want to give it any welly all the way through, give it some welly on the last 3 words. You can either sing "Is he one" or "Is she one." You can sing "Are they one" if you like, but it will ruin the rhyme scheme. The chorus was written in 1977. We thought slightly differently then. Is he one? I'd never have guessed. Well, you never can tell today. To see one, they're like all the rest of us. We'll live and let live, that's what I say. To be one might be kind of fun, so I'll tell you what I'll do. If you will still be my sweet baby, I'll tell you I'm one too.